All right, let's dive into Kai-Fu Lee's incredible book, AI Superpowers. We're about to go on a journey that's about way more than just tech. We're going to unpack the huge geopolitical clash happening right now, and maybe most importantly, we'll ask what this all means for us, as human beings.
I just love this quote from Lee. It's perfect, right? It just nails where we all are. We've got all these questions, and it's this mix of childlike wonder and some very real grown-up anxieties. It really puts us all on the same starting line, trying to figure this out together.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? What is all this automation and intelligence actually going to mean for our jobs, for our world, and for our own sense of purpose? This whole explainer is really about digging into the answers Kai-Fu Lee lays out for us. So to really understand where we are today, we have to go back. We have to look at one single event that completely changed the game for China's AI ambitions. It was what you'd call their Sputnik moment.
A Sputnik moment. Yeah, it's that shock to the system. That sudden stomach-dropping feeling when you realize you're falling behind and you have to catch up like yesterday. For the US back in the day, it was a Soviet satellite. For China's AI dreams, believe it or not, it was a board game.
See, this wasn't just a game, not even close. For most of us, it was a cool tech demo. But in China, Go is a huge source of national pride. So watching their #1 player in the world get beaten by an American AI, that was a profound shock. It was a wake-up call, loud and clear.
And China's response was immediate. They started pouring unbelievable amounts of money and talent into AI. But here's the thing you have to understand. To see why they've become such a force, you have to realize their tech world is playing a completely different sport, with a totally different rule book than Silicon Valley.
You know how we think of Silicon Valley, right? It's all about these big, lofty missions to change the world. Entrepreneurs build these beautiful, elegant digital products. They tend to stay in the clean world of code, kind of hesitant to get their hands dirty with messy, real-world logistics.
Now compare that to China. Lee calls their entrepreneurs gladiators fighting to the death. It is not mission-driven, it is brutally market-driven. The competition is just insane. They will copy, they will adapt, and they will do whatever it takes to win. And they're absolutely willing to get their hands dirty in the real world with what's called O2O, or online to offline. Think food delivery, bike sharing, all that stuff that connects the digital world to the physical one.
So this completely unique, hardcore ecosystem has allowed China to just crush it as AI technology has evolved. And Lee breaks this whole evolution down into 4 really clear waves. Okay, so first up was Internet AI. That's pretty simple. It's the recommendation engines on YouTube or Netflix. Then that grew into business AI, the stuff that works behind the scenes, optimizing things like bank loans. Right now, we are deep in the third wave, perception AI. That's our smart speakers that can hear us, our phones that can see. And the final frontier? That's autonomous AI, self-driving cars, drones, the whole shebang.
So here is the absolute key takeaway. We have shifted from an age of AI discovery, which was really led by a handful of brilliant minds in the West, to an age of AI implementation. And in this new era, the most important resource isn't some lone genius, it's data. Just raw, massive amounts of data. And China has more of it than anyone.
And this chart really shows you why. I mean, look at this. China's massive population basically skipped the credit card era and went straight to mobile payments for everything. You combine that with their obsession with those O2O services we talked about, food delivery, ride sharing, and what you get is a tsunami of real-world data. Every single payment, every trip, every meal ordered, it's all fuel for their AI engines.
But this is where the story takes a turn, because this book is so much more than a breakdown of tech and geopolitics. At its absolute heart is a deeply personal, deeply human story about the author himself.
For decades, Kai-Fu Lee was the definition of a workaholic. He was a tech icon who basically treated his life like an algorithm, optimizing every single minute to have the biggest possible impact. He really saw himself as a human productivity engine.
And then, at the absolute pinnacle of his career, in 2013, that perfectly tuned engine just stopped. He was given a diagnosis, stage 4 lymphoma, and the prognosis was just months to live.
And that diagnosis just shattered everything. It forced him to face this brutal, inconvenient truth. He had spent his whole life calculating how to use his time for maximum professional impact, but his life's algorithm had a fatal flaw. It completely left out love. He had neglected his family, his friends, his own humanity.
And staring down his own mortality, that felt like a loss he could never get back.
As he actually quotes in the book, a palliative care nurse who spent years with the dying found this was the #1 regret. It wasn't that they didn't work harder or make more money, it was that they didn't spend more time with the people they loved. This simple, powerful truth became the very core of Lee's transformation.
So, after facing death and rediscovering what it really means to be human, Lee, who miraculously survived his cancer, comes back with a whole new vision. A vision for how all of us can live in this new world with AI.
And we desperately need a vision, because, let's be real, we're facing a crisis. Lee brings up research that points to this number, 38%. That is the chunk of US jobs at high risk of being automated in the next decade or so. And get this time it's not just blue-collar factory jobs. AI is coming for white-collar work first.
Now, a really popular idea coming out of Silicon Valley is Universal Basic Income, or UBI. But Lee looks at that and calls it a painkiller. Sure, it's cash to help people survive, but it does nothing to fix the loss of meaning and purpose that comes when your job disappears. So he proposes something totally different, a social investment stipend. This is not a handout. It's a payment that actually encourages and rewards people for contributing to society in ways that the free market usually ignores. So, as you can see here, this could mean financially supporting people for doing care work, like raising a child or caring for an elderly parent. It could reward community service, volunteering, or even just pursuing lifelong learning. It's a way to reinvest in the things that make us human.
And this is the brilliant, simple core of his whole vision. Let the machines do what they're good at, optimizing, calculating, analyzing data. That frees us humans up to double down on what we do best, caring for each other, creating, connecting, loving.
And really, that's what it all comes down to. The rise of AI forces us to look in the mirror and ask this huge question. And Kai-Fu Lee's incredible journey, from Iron Man to cancer survivor, gives us a clue to the answer. Maybe being human isn't about how well we can think, but how well we can love. And that sounds like a future worth fighting for.